All right. All right, good morning, guys. Today is Tuesday, March 12th, and as usual, going analysis for US 30, gold, and EU. So daily bias for US 30 is bullish, daily bias for gold is bullish, daily bias for EU is bullish, daily bias for the US dollar is bearish. And then checking, excuse me, what zones we have currently where price is at. For US 30 on the 15-minute time frame, the zones we have here would be, let's see what we have. So this zone all the way up here. And then so that's a supply zone. For demand zone, we have this zone right here. So remember, this zones change in real time. Zone right there. So possibly going to get a buy on US 30 today. For sell on the 30-minute time frame, this is a nice supply zone on US 30. For a buy, this would be the zone right here. So after we do all of this, we would have to identify the most optimal zones across time frames. So for example, after we draw all these zones, our work is to find if we have 3 demand zones on US 30, like on the 15-minute, 30-minute, and 1 hour. The work would be to look at which is the most optimal zone between those 3 ones. So if a 30-minute time frame gives you a better entry, then of course you would want to wait for the 30-minute time frame. Or if a 1 hour time frame gives you a better entry, your work would be to wait for that. So here on the 15-minute time frame, you can see the most optimal zone here is around 39,150. There's a 30-minute zone for 38,942, but you can see in this instance, the 15-minute zone gives us more, a better confirmation. And also, how do I go about choosing the zone, right? So the first thing is I'm only interested in the darker shaded zones. So in here, this whole zone is a supply zone, but within this whole supply zone, there's zones in here that are more darker than the rest. And also these lightly shaded ones, they're based off of one candle. So this can easily be mitigated by one bullish candle. So you want to that's why you want to concentrate on the zones where there's more highlights. And also, once you get to those zones, so you also find zones that have a bunch of highlighted zones in there. So you want to pick the most optimal one. And then up to a point where they're divided by like a white space. So for example, here, you can see this division of this white space, right? So you look at the most optimal zone before a white space. So this would be it right here. So this space is more clearer than this little white spaces in here. So you always want to ask yourself, which is the most optimal one? And the purpose of this supply and demand, or inner supply and inner demand, is to ask yourself, where is price going from where it is? Excuse me. So looking at what we have here on the 15, and keep in mind, we don't trade the first 15 minutes of New York Open. So I know we are in this inner demand based off of this 15-minute setup, but we want to wait until 15 minutes after New York Open. But you can also see that rejection exactly from that area. So there are times something like this will go into profit, but I've just found that if you just be patient, there'll always be moves. So either between 9:45 to like 10:30, that's when the trades will line up, or 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So those are the timings right there. But this would be if anybody trades New York Open and and I think I went live on YouTube. This would be a confluence for a buy, but I'm not taking that just as of yet. Looking at gold, so let's see for gold right here. We have to do the same thing. Ask ourselves, where is the next optimal demand zone? So this These zones are not as, they're lightly shaded, so this can easily be mitigated by one strong bearish candle. So we go and ask ourselves, where is the next best one? So I see in a demand zone right here at 2143. So at that point, I just drop my setup like this, and I would wait for gold to get to this zone for me to even think about buying gold. And what we can do here is set alarms. So I'll still set an alarm here for US 30. Actually, no, because price is already there. I'll set an alarm for this supply zone on US 30 up here. See, I would have to turn off this zones. Let's see. And you can see how that demand zone has been mitigated, right? Now the demand zone has been taken out. So this is why also the first 15 minutes, you want to wait for that manipulation to end. So I'll set a alert here near the sell zone on the 30-minute time frame. I'll set an alert here near this demand zone on the 30-minute time frame as well for US 30. So if price gets to those to those zones, I'll just be alerted. So here what we do, we move this zone lower because remember, this zones update in real time. So there definitely are times when these zones won't be mitigated, but that's why you want to observe. And that's why these zones almost always change. And that's why you have to find the times when, I think I already had like a alert there before. That's why you want to wait for price to get to those zones and wait for price to come to you. So that's US 30. Gold, I already have alerts down here. Let's see. We have this zone right here, 2051. Actually, for gold, this would be the zone 2148 on the 15-minute time frame. You can see that white border between here. So that would be the zone for gold. On the 30-minute time frame, this zone is based off of, yeah, 2 candles. So this is fine. And this zone, you can see, yeah, price has already picked up from there. So this was the next zone on the 30-minute time frame, and price has already picked up from there. But again, this is the New York open candle, and I don't trade New York open candles. So we'll still wait for this and see if price gets back here after 9:45. So I'll set an alert here for gold. It's 2156. So selling area for gold would be all the way up here. Not sure if gold is going to come back all the way here, but let's just do, it would be at 2179. That would be the next area for gold right here, 2179. Let me just do that. Set an alert here, 2178.79 area. So that's gold. EU, okay, looks like EU is coming to a buy area at 1.08. EU was pretty good during CPI release this morning, especially on the 30-minute time frame. What time is it? 9:42. I think that's the gold alarm. EU here, if you look at what happened during CPI, it came and picked up. There was a demand zone here, and I think right now it's just been mitigated. So it came, picked up this price at this demand zone, went straight to TP, and then here we had this supply zone at the top here. But on the 30-minute time frame, we have this demand zone right here at 1.08679. So this is the optimal buy zone here for EU. So afterwards, we will just come and see which is the most optimal one across time frames. So I'll add an alert for EU here. I do the same here, add an alert, and I think I can drag this up instead of turning. Yeah, I can drag it up there. And then for sell zone on EU would be here. 1.09. I doubt we'll get this one during the live session, but I can mark it up and just create my. And afterwards, you can always turn off the zones indicator in order to have clearer charts. So added an alert there for EU. So I do see this EU trade validating during the live session, so I can turn this off. Turn this off as well. We also want to see the markups. When price gets to this zones, we would want to turn on the markups indicator so as to see if we have any order blocks there. And again, remember, this is different from the SAR strategy. I did say I won't be using the SAR strategy as much anymore because this kind of supersedes it. But we can still look for SAR trade entries if we don't have anything instant here. So for EU, EU is the one I just marked up. Then we go to the higher time frames. So for the 1 hour time frame, this was a nice sell on US 30. Unfortunately, happened before New York session, and I don't trade that. But this is still a valid inner supply zone. For the buys on US 30 on the hourly, it would still be down here at whatever this is, 38,427. So let me add an alert here and then I'll just drag it down. Actually, see, close this. Since this was mitigated, I'll just drag it down here. We can turn this off. Then remain is something like that. For gold, oh, gold is in a demand zone. This was a nice one. Let's see. Just 1 second. Let's see. Yeah, this is a nice trade on gold right here. Looks like price has already, and it's past 945. Let's see. If price comes down here, I'll take this buy on gold. So normally what I do, if price has come to that zone, you can either enter on impulse, but for me, what I do, I go on the 5-second time frame, and this would have been the buy that would be running. So if this comes back to entry before achieving a 1:1 risk to reward, I'll be taking, looks like it already is at a 1:1. Yeah, that was the buy before the hourly time frame on gold. Let's see if this achieved a 1:1. Not yet. So if this comes back to entry, I'll take this gold trade. So if you look at this hourly setup, and I think I hadn't put in an alert here. Add alert. And normally it's best to do this analysis before market open, so that we don't miss some of this. But because that validated at ideally 943. So, but if this trade gets here first before coming back down, I'll just forget about it. But that would have been the nice entry based off of the 1 hour inner demand. Yeah. So at this point, we would be at break even for this trade. So I'll just go ahead and delete that in order to avoid FOMO and just wait for the next trade. But this right here, that was a nice setup for gold on the hourly time frame. So you can see exactly where it's coming from, right? So this is this zone right here. It has that darker shading, this one right there. And you can see, so you want to wait for price to come into that zone. You can do an impulse entry. For me, since I don't really do impulse entries, the next best thing I can do is find another confluence on a lower time frame. So that's why I'm even using the 5-second time frame in order to find that confirmation. But this would have been a nice setup. But this zone is still valid. You can see it hasn't been mitigated even by that drop. So it still remains as an inner demand zone. For gold sales on the hourly time frame, it would be at here, 2178. And something like that. I think I'll get rid of these labels because they take time. Turn that off, turn that off. Remain is something like that. EU is a nice one as well. 1.0868. The sell on gold this validated during market open or 8 a.m. So there's nothing there. So here on the hourly time frame, we can get rid of that. So that's the hourly entries on EU as well. On the 4 hour time frame, 4 hour time frame, that's the zone on US 30. Let me put an alert here. Let me just drag this. For the 4 hour buy would still be here. No, 4 hour buy would be here. And let me look at gold. There's gold on the 15-minute time frame. Let's go back to gold on the 15-minute. So here on that 15-minute time frame, this was so the 15-minute time frame is at 21.48. The 30-minute time frame. So this is a nice entry. That's a nice optimal entry. So the lowest entry we have right now on gold is 21.48. On the 30-minute time frame is 21.56. So 21.48 is still looks like the optimal one. On the hourly time frame on gold, 21.56. So 21.48, the 15-minute buy on gold looks like it's the best or the most optimal one. Nothing here on US 30 as of yet. Let me put an alarm also here for US 30. So it looks like today these trades will validate around maybe midday or 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So also on the 30-minute time frame. So the US 30 setups 38,620, 38,629. So 38,620 is still the lowest on the hourly time frame, 38,427. So that's like a 200 point difference. So 38,620 looks like the most optimal for now, before even this 1 hour setup. Lastly, for this 4 hours, we've already done it for US 30, so we can turn this off. Here for gold on the 4 hour, 2154. 2154 is another nice buy area on gold. So I'll set an alert there. And I like how it lines up with the Friday low. So also with this inner supply and inner demand, you also want to have it line up with order blocks or previous daily highs or previous daily lows. Yeah, and that 30-minute setup on gold would be, yeah, would just have hit TP. That was a nice one. Unfortunately, I'll try to mark these zones up quicker before market open, in order to save time as well. 4 hour time frame, that's the buy 2154, 2184. This would be a nice 4 hour supply, 2184. Somewhere around there. And then we turn this off. For EU 21, no, 1.086, 1.08680. That's a nice buy zone on the 4 hour. I have an alert there and a nice sell zone at 1.09469. So EU is also good, and this is the 4 hour time frame. So at this point, let's see if we'll get any 15-minute or 30-minute setups based off of this US 30, US 30 or gold entries. If not, then we'll just wait for price to come to those zones later on in the day and find a setup there. Here for gold, gold. Yeah, it's still at the top there. What else? All right, let's see if we have any momentum trades. I know we haven't looked at the momentum strategy for now in a while. No valid momentum buys on EU. This was a nice valid momentum sell. And no, this wasn't a valid momentum sell. There was no rejection off of an SAR, so that's fine. 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame. This was a valid momentum buy on EU. Because you'd have waited for price to come back to the low of that candle, and then you enter the trade there. So this one would have, let me see, maybe would have been at stop loss. Yeah, so this one looks like it would, not sure if, let me see, if price went up first or went down. Went there. I think it went, let's see, give me a second. Think it went up first. But anyway, so this trade would either have been stop loss or break even. But if this candle went up first before coming back down, you'd have been it would have been a break even trade. But again, this is before New York Open, so I wouldn't have taken that trade. But that was a valid momentum buy. No valid momentum sell there. For gold. No valid momentum buy on the 4-hour. No valid momentum sell on the 4-hour as well. When we go to the 1-hour time frame, 1-hour time frame, this was an invalid momentum buy, no valid momentum sell there, so nothing to look at there for US 30. Is this one? US 30, no valid momentum buy, no valid momentum sell. Then for the 4-hour time frame, nothing. Even see something here on the 4-hour. No, no valid momentum entries for the day today. Let's turn this on. Let's see for any SAR entries. Nah. All right. So unless we get this retracement on EU, oh, this is US 30. Yeah, we'll see if we get this US 30 sell. This is 38,949. But 39,200 is a better one for US 30 on the 15-minute time frame. So I think I would rather, that's the most optimal one. Add alert. Yeah, so I don't think we'll get any setups here. I'll send this markups in the Discord, but just keep in mind this zone's update in real time. So price may get to this zones and it quickly gets mitigated. So that's why when price does get to this zones, you want to make sure that you have confluences that align. But I don't see any of these entries validating during the live session today. So I'll send this in the Trade Ideas channel in the Discord. That alert was for you, US 30 or gold. Let's see. Yeah, the alert was for gold. Yeah, so there's nothing here unless this is like high time frame alert. I don't see any alert here for gold on this time frames. Yeah. Let's see, what time was this? 38, 842, 21, 56. 38,842. It was a US 30. It was a US 30 alert. Let's see. So it wasn't a 15-minute, it wasn't a 30-minute. Oh, it was a 1 hour entry. Okay, so let's see. So US 30 is at the 1 hour entry. Let's see what we have here. If we turn on the zone, so this zone is still valid. So here, what I want to see, so US 30 can keep going up. That's fine. Let's look at the markups here before I go to the 5-second time frame. We have a 4 hour bearish high here. So this is perfect. So this is a trade I'm willing to take here. So what I'll do, I'll go to the 5-second time frame and wait for that crossover sell. So I want to see a red X here. So US 30 can keep pushing up as much as it wants, even better. If I see the crossover sell, which is you'll see a red X, something like this, I'll be taking the sell on US 30. And I'll be doing what is 50 points stop loss, 100 points TP. For you guys, the risk that I'll count for you guys is 0.75% per trade. Personally, of course, I'll be going for 1% risk per trade. So we'll just wait for that crossover entry and we'll take that sell, or I will be taking that sell on US 30. So if it wants to keep pumping up, that's fine. But I like this setup. We are at a 4 hour bearish order block. So now the other thing to consider, you see how that inner supply zone has been mitigated. So it has been taken away. So right now we just have one red zone. So this is not a trade I'll take anymore. So you can see the importance of watching these things in real time. So if I replay there, you'll see previously we had that inner supply zone, which is what I call a supply zone within a supply zone or demand zone within a demand zone. So if this loads, so you can see, right, we had two shaded regions, or actually three. So if price becomes heavily bullish, those zones will be taken away. So that's why you want those multiple zones, because if it was only one supply zone, it could have easily been taken out. So that's why the more the better, because it makes it harder for price to go up. So in this instance, I'm not going to be looking for the sell anymore. I'm going to look for the next inner supply zone, which is here. So for me here, I'll wait for price to come back up to this zone right here. And then I can put a alert on US 30 here. So with this strategy, it does take a little bit more patience, but it does give you nice entries. But here, yeah, so for example, right now, that's where I would have entered. If we still had those inner supply zones or supply zone within a supply zone, that's where I would have entered the trade. I would be in the trade right now, but currently I am not. So let's go back and we'll see how this lines up in the next moment or so. But I'm not in this current trade. So I'm waiting for US 30 now at 38,932. I was gonna take screenshots of this and send them to the Discord, which I think I did. So this is US 30 on the 15 and 30. Then this is gold on 15-minute and 30-minute. So I'll turn this ones off and do something like this. Here for gold as well. So you can see on the 30-minute time frame, this demand zone has been mitigated. So you can see we only left with one shaded region, right? So we move to the next level, which is down here. So we move this down here. Because this zone's update in real time. So I can turn this off. So let's send this here. I'll send this in the Discord. So that's for gold. And EU, again, make sure that those zones are still valid before I send that. Yeah, so EU is looking good. Um, see. Hmm. Hourly time frames. So for hourly time frames, for US 30, see. Yeah, that's still it. So, and then we have the 4 hour time frame here. Mhm. All right, so that's gold at 2156. So gold has come back down. So let's see on gold. So it wasn't on the 15 minute, wasn't on the 30. So I think that was the hourly one on gold. So if we check the hourly here on gold, so this is good. However, so this is 2156. We know that on the hourly, on the 4 hour, we have 2154. So that's good. So between the 1 hour and the 4 hour is the most optimal. So the 1 hour is 2156. The 4 hour is 2154.176. So at this point, let's wait for the 4 hour. Okay. Then between the 1 hour and 4 hour, 4 hour is most optimal. Then if we look at the 15 minute and 30 minute, the 15 minute is 2148. The 30 minute is 2145. So if you compare the 4 hour with the 15 minute and 30 minute, the most optimal gold buy is the 30 minute. But we still also need to check the order block. So let's see if we turn on our markups here. Let's see what zones, not zones. So the zones are still valid. The markups, this is Friday low. So I'm liking the 4 hour entry on gold. So I'm actually might take the 4 hour entry on gold. We have the Friday low. Below that, we don't have any other zone. So as much as we have optimal entries on the 15 minute and 30 minute for gold, um, if we look at the markups, and here also we have this hourly bullish order block, right? Around that 2156, 2154 zone. Around 2145, we really don't have much, right? Around 21, as much as 2145 is the most optimal, we really don't have much. We have this nice structure to the left, but here where we have this hourly order block, we have a bigger structure to the left. We also have the current last Friday low. We have an hourly bullish order block. So this would be a nice 21, the 4 hour entry would be a nice zone to look for buys on gold. So what we want to see here, or what I would want to see, is price tapping 2154, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll make sure that price, so this US 31 looks like we would have gotten taken out at break even if it would have validated, because it did achieve a 1:1 risk to reward. So even if we had taken this, would have been at break even for the day. So here we want price to tap. You can see that 2154, right? So we want price to tap that demand, that inner demand, and then get a crossover by like that green X. So here it's just again a matter of patience. We've gotten that crossover X, but price hasn't tapped our 2154 entry just as of yet. Or did it? Let's see. No, so ideally we wanted the most optimal zone is that low, right? The low of that zone. So that's why my entry is right there. So somewhere 2154.1. And you can always use like filler trades. So you don't have to enter with the full leverage. Like you can break down your trades instead of entering with the full, say 0.75%. You can use like a smaller lot size so that if the trade runs from here, because again, you can see how close we came from to our entry. So again, just big patience on this one. And gold is sinking. So I would want it to sink a little further. So we've already tapped 2154. So let's see if we get that crossover buy. And gold is pretty bearish for now, but let's see how this goes. And normally, if price comes to such order blocks, normally they mitigate the order block before. Let's see markups. So normally they would go down and try to stop hunt people and then come back up and pick up that liquidity. So here the main thing is just to make sure you have enough stop or you have a wide enough stop loss to avoid stop hunting. So here we know the hourly bullish low is at 2154, 2155. So let me see. I'll be taking a buy on gold. All right. So just as of yet. So I'm catching this buy on gold from here. So for you guys, I'm counting again 0.75% risk. But just make sure you also have a big enough stop loss to avoid any stop hunting from this zone. So 2155. The other way you can look to enter this is so 2155. We know that here is the hourly bullish low. So this is the hourly bullish low. So in areas around this order blocks, they normally try and stop hunt. So the other way you can look at it, like in maybe a 5-minute time frame, something like this, and then you can try and catch this. But yeah, so currently I'm in that trade right now, this gold, and it's based off of the 4 hours. So yeah, so this is the trade I'm in right here. In a demand right there. And my entry is at 2154. My entry is somewhere there. All right, so that's the 4 hour. Yeah, so you can see this 1 hour ideally would have gotten stop hunted. So this is once you do see those especially high time frame order blocks, there's a lot of manipulation that goes on here. Probably a lot of stop hunting before any possible reversal. So that's why like that pattern I drew out for you guys, you want to wait for price to break down at that zone. So here, for example, what I would want to see if I go to the 5-minute time frame is probably start seeing higher lows being created. So here, like for example, in this 5-minute time frame, start to see higher lows being created for this pattern that I drew out for you guys. And I'm hoping we don't get stop hunted on this one, but that's definitely possible. But here on this 5-minute time frame, I would want to see possible higher lows start getting created. And that's the way you can say play this pattern that we've drawn up right here. Let's see, for US 30, nothing. So gold, we're already in that. There's another gold entry here on the 15 minute. EU, EU hasn't tapped. So there's this 15 minute, nothing on the 30. So for right now, I think during this live session, the only thing that we'll probably just look at is this 4-hour entry on gold. So currently in drawdown, about 50% of my stop loss, and waiting for hopefully that reversal back up. Come on. So let's see if we start getting higher lows and higher highs here, that would be a nice sign of a reversal here on the 5 minute. There we go. Nice one, nice push. So remember, if you achieve a 1:1 risk to reward, go ahead and set break even. So we're having that nice push. So what's happening here, you can see that that hourly bullish order block. So that's now getting tapped. So this pattern, I've seen this pattern time and time again. If you do see this order blocks, don't catch it just as of yet, like when price taps that order block. Sometimes it will tap it and reverse back almost immediately. But most times they will manipulate price below or above that and then come back up. And if price closes above that zone, you normally have a nice, nice push to the upside. So for this trade, again, if you um, achieve a 1:1 risk to reward, so it's 30 pips, stop loss 60 points or pips TP. If you achieve a 1:1, go ahead and set break even. So hoping we get that extra push to the upside. And you can see here on the 5 minute, we are possibly having those higher highs. I'm sorry, higher lows starting to get created. But what I care about most here is just to achieve that 1:1 risk to reward. If we do achieve that, then we should get a nice push to the upside as well. There we go. I'm almost at a 1:1. There we go. So if you're in this trade, set break even. So I'm up 2K on one account, up 2K on the other. So I took this trade on 200K accounts. So if I do win this trade, I'll be up like 8K. So this trade should be at break even. There you go. And then let's see how this pans out. Nice. All right, there you go. Nice push on gold. Come on, let's go. Uh, There we go. And the reason I like this, as much as the 15 minute was also a more optimal entry, this 4-hour trades, this 4-hour like high time frame trade setups, like you can't beat those. High time frame trade setups are better, and plus it did line up with that hourly bullish high and bullish low. So if we turn this on again and you see the reason we took those two trade or this trade on gold, where were we seeing that hourly? Yeah, you can see the hourly bullish low, and also the Friday low. So this zones, because where the 15-minute and 30-minute entries were, as much as this is also a nice buy area later on, we don't have anything, right? We don't have any order blocks. And there's no optimal zones there. And also, I mean, it's the most optimal zone, but the other thing I mentioned to you guys last week, when I send out these trades with inner supply and inner demand, also look to your left and ask yourself, how big is the structure to the left? So in this instance, this structure right here, yes, it's a nice structure, but look at this structure that the 4-hour was built on, right? There's more consolidation. So between these two areas, which one has more consolidation, right? Because if you're buying, you want to see nice structure to the left. If you're selling, you want to also see the nice previous structure to the left, especially if you're using supply and demand. So that was another reason why I was like, I like this 4-hour, as much as it's not the most optimal entry across all the 4 timeframes that I trade. Yeah, so the 4-hour should be hitting TP soon. Hoping to get that nice pump to the upside. So depending on where you entered, so one account I'm up 3K, the other one may have just hit full TP, the other one I'm up 3K as well. So hoping for or anticipating a nice little push to the upside. And then, yep, there we go. There we go. Almost there, because I entered on the 5-second time frame. Just there. And there we go. Full TP on this trade. So full TP on that account, full TP on both of my accounts. So that's good. Yeah, so that was a nice one. The 4-hour entry. Let me send this out. That was a nice trade right there. So this is the 4-hour. So that's a gain of 1.5% if you took it with 0.75% risk. Personally, I made 2% on each account, so that's 4%. Oh. All right, so let's replay that trade. So today, Monday, we didn't have a trade, or we didn't take any official trades today. So this is 1.5% gain. So you can see in the month of March as well, you're up 2.25% if you took the trades that I sent out. So we started off the month with a loss. Friday, we had a nice 1.5% gain from, I think, US30. Today, a nice 1.5% gain. So for the month of March, we are up 2.25%. Month of February, we were like 0%. So we were at break even. Let me take a screenshot of this for my journal. So this is inner demand. And I just want to replay something for you guys here after I take the screenshot. Let's just save this. All right, so the logic behind this, right? So let's start with why I identified this zone. So remember, in any of my setups, like the key thing is optimal, right? What is optimal? So when you're doing the inner supply and inner demand zone, so I talked about you want to look out for the darker shaded regions. So this whole region from 2171 down to 2144, that's a demand region for gold on whatever time frame, right? So, but in this case, it's the 4-hour time frame. So unless I was looking to have $30 stop loss, I think like a $30 stop loss, which is like a 300 pip stop loss, like I'm not going to take that trade, right? Or I'm not going to be looking to trade this whole zone by itself. Okay, then I ask myself, within this whole zone in here, are there zones in there that have darker shade? Is there, as much as between 2170 to 2140, we have a concentration of buyers? Are there any other zones in here that have more concentration of buyers? Yes, there are. So we have this. We have this one. We have this. You can see they're separated by a small dash of white there. We have that one. And then we have this one. Okay, perfect. Now, this comes the tricky part. Like even for me, backtesting this was a little tricky. Now, you ask yourself, here you have 3 zones. Now, if you have 3 zones, of course, the most optimal zone is this zone down here, right? Between 2151 and 2147. Yes, that is correct. However, is there any distinction between these 3 zones? If you zoom out, you'll see like between this top zone and the bottom zone, the top 2 zones are distinct. They have a distinction of white. So in here, there was actually no demand zone in here whatsoever, even the bigger one. So you go, that's your border. So you break those 2 apart. So now you focus on the ones that have that are in the same zone and distincted, or they have white borders on either side. So at that point, I think we have a US 30 trade setup. This must be on the 30-minute time frame. Give me 1 second. Let's see. It must be on the 1 hour, on the 1 hour, on the 1 hour and 30. Let's look at this US 30 for now. Give me 1 second and let's see how this goes. So I'm liking this US 30 sell here. Let's see. I'm liking the US 30 sell on that 1 hour time frame. So it's tapped exactly that zone. So this is what we want, right? We want to see price tapping exactly our zone. Okay, let's see. Do we have any order blocks around here? Okay, we don't have order blocks, but look at, we have the monthly open, we have the Friday high. So price is likely to come. So as much as a zone can be tapped, ask yourself, where can price go after this? So price is probably going to go to the Friday high. So around 31. So let's put an alert for Friday high. Shit, my bad. Let's put an alert for Friday high. Because with this supply and demand zone, always ask yourself, where is price likely to go? So we know that it's tapped and actually forget about that, because you can see that inner supply zone has been mitigated, has been taken out, right? So right now we're only left with a supply zone that's based off of 1 candle. We don't trade supply zones that are based off of 1 candle. That's why, when I say these zones are updated in real time, you want to see, as much as, yes, your alert has been tapped, you want to come back and turn on the zones indicator and make sure that that inner supply and inner demand is there. But here, you see that it's already been taken out. If I go ahead and replay this for you guys, you'll see the before and after. So this is before. Let's see, before, there you go. So you see this little zone in here. If I zoom in, this little zone. So if we play for that 1 candle, you see how it's been taken out. So that means the buyers are, they're very strong. They've taken out that small group of sellers in there. So at this point, and let's see if it's still in there. So it's coming back and forth. Well, I don't know if it's because I reset the chart, but this one is still holding. But regardless of that, you ask yourself, where is price likely to head to? So by heading to, ask yourself, are there any order blocks around there, or are there any other points of interest there? So here you can see we have a Friday high. So as much as, yes, this is a nice sell on gold, if you do get that red X, like the crossover sell on the 5-minute time frame, or even if you're entering in on impulse, for me, I would rather wait for that Friday high, which we've tapped right now. And these things happen too quickly. But again, see, that red zone has been taken away. So at this point, I don't see any need of waiting for this. And even the other one has been taken away. You see that? So here, what we do now on the 1 hour, we move to the next zone. The next zone is here, this small zone right here, 39,105. So that's what I like about this confluence is and the best thing is not to FOMO. And also when I talk about, I don't like entering these trades on impulse. That's an example of why I don't like entering the trades on impulse. I wait for price to get to my zone. And then I ask myself, is there any other zone that it can push to? So for example, let's go back to reviewing the gold setup. So here on the 4 hour, we found that there's a distinction between, this white line distinction. So always look for that white border. So a place where the demand zone didn't go all the way there. So since we found it, then you ask yourself, okay, at this point, I can delete this zone at the bottom. So my two zones here of interest is either this top one, because if you zoom in as well, there was some distinction here. It wasn't like pure white. It was just, there was still some green in there, but there was a difference in this darker shade, these two darker shaded zones right here. So at that point, you have two buying zones. So you ask yourself, are you going to buy at the first one, or are you going to buy at the top one, or are you going to buy at the bottom one? So it's a game of, again, ask yourself which is the most optimal. So if I'm buying, I want the lowest possible buy that I can get. So between these two zones, this zone was the lowest possible buy. If you had taken a buy in this upper zone, guess what? You'd have been faked out. And this, if you guys remember, we were getting faked out a lot, especially in February. So we were getting faked out a lot. And this was the reason why, because price moves from one pocket of liquidity. If you just think of price moves from one pocket of liquidity to another, you'll be able to apply or to understand the supply and demand strategy, or even this one for mine, which is inner supply or inner demand, which is a bit different from the generic supply and demand zone. So then, so you wait for price to come to the bottom of that zone. If price comes to the bottom of that zone, what's the other step? Still make sure that inner supply or inner demand zone is there. Yes, you can enter in on impulse, but again, you want to wait for that extra confluence. Now, previously, we used to do the 1 minute for the 1 minute crossover buy and sell. But what that did for us, we used to get trades like much later on. So sometimes our trades would end up in break even for no reason, or even hit stop loss. So which is why I went to the lowest possible time frame, which is the 5 second, or the lowest possible time frame that can support my indicators, which is the 5 second one. So at that point, I just wait for price to get to that zone, and that's it. And then to get to that zone, and then I wait for the 5 second crossover buy. You can use any other indicator as well. It doesn't have to, again, you don't have to use mine, but find some other confluence that you can use after price gets to those zones, because what I'm giving you like a high probability that price is going to have an interaction in this zone. That's all I'm doing. Now, your work is to find the next possible area. Now, let's look at the order blocks, how the order blocks came to play. So if I turn this indicator off so that we have a better understanding. So we had an hourly bullish low at 2155.065, and then at the other hourly bullish high at 2157.9. So let me apply that 2157.9. 57.9. So let me just put it here for now. 2157.9. Okay, so this is your hourly bullish high. Now, what I liked about these order blocks, they were pretty close to each other. So that's good. So if you have a bullish high and bullish low that are that close to each other, you want to wait for price to come to the bullish. We want to wait for price to come to the lowest. If you're trying to buy, you want to price to go to the highest if you're trying to sell. Now, in this instance, and I've seen this pattern time and time again. So if we go to the 5, so let's move away from the 5 second for now. If we go to the 5 minute time frame, normally, at some point, if price touches this order block, sometimes, yes, you'll get an exact reversal from that zone. So in this instance, our stop loss is 30 points, stop loss 60 points TP. So even if you had entered on the exact markup for that hourly bullish low, yes, you'd have still won this trade. But most times what this people do, or how price reacts from this zones, is that yes, price will get to that hourly bullish low, have that rejection, and you can still use this analysis for a bearish order block. So they'll get to the low of a bullish order block or get to the high of a bearish order block, and then they'll do a stop hunting or stop trade because they know there are people who have their pending orders here. So when price gets to this zones, most of the times you'll see price have a little bit of reaction there and then come back up and then do a stop hunt. So for me, if price gets to like a zone like this, like maybe in this case, it's gold like $3 away from that low, one way you can play it is set a pending order at that hourly bullish low. The other way you can do it is wait for this pattern to play out and do like I did. I went to the 5-second time frame and I'm waiting for now my crossover entry. So for us, our entry was somewhere around here. And then you know what happens when price touches this zone, because they've already stop hunted. So what they're doing, even for them, the market makers, they may do something that like pending orders. So once they take out liquidity here, they may leave pending orders here. Meaning if price touches this zone, you'll see that burst in liquidity, which is what we saw here. And then you get a move like this. So again, like that order block, previously when I was trading order blocks, I used to try and catch the exact time, the exact price where that order block is. And most of the times, or not most of the times, a good amount of the times, I used to get stop hunted. And then I was like, man, if only I had waited maybe 5 minutes after, I would have caught the right back up. So this is a move I've seen time and time again for order blocks. And you can see it's exactly what happened. When price, stop hunting, huge bearish candle, you have some consolidation, right? That after they've stop hunted. And then when price, guess what price does after it comes back to that hourly bullish low? That spike up. So it's pretty much that. So that's another reason why for me this 4-hour buy on gold was the best one. As much as it didn't give us the best price point to buy, there were some other things other than that price point. But anyway, let's see. So I think that's gonna be it for today. Let's see this. We have a 30-minute sell on US30, but let's see what's going on. So again, you can see they took out that 30-minute inner supply. So again, what do? We look for the next convenient one. So here we have how many possible inner supply zones. So the first question we ask ourselves is where our white borders. So we can see our white border is up here and down here. So between 39,150 and 39,000, that's sellers on US30. But what zones in that big zone, do we have any other zones in here that sellers are concentrated? Yes, we can see them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So out of those 6 zones, which is the most optimal one? This one at the top here. So at that point, we go mark our inner supply, take my arrow from here. So I don't, I'm not interested in set. Now, if we did have a white, actually never mind. That's not the most optimal for now because we are looking for white borders. So we have a white border here. We have this small, that's why sometimes you have to zoom out. We have this little white border between 39,070. So it's like a 2-point border. So actually the optimal sell on US30 that's another zone as well. So that one was another zone as well, but let me show you something. So this one is the next optimal sell zone on US30. I'll set an alert there. And then I will drag it here. Now, the reason why I say it's the most optimal is this. We found our white zones, right? So our white zone is this one to the top, this one in the middle, and then this one at the bottom. So what that tells us is that we have 2 different sets of sellers here. We have set one. Actually, let me use this. We have the first set. The first set of sellers is here, is between that zone. The next set of sellers is here, is there. So we are going with the first set. So the first set, inside the first set, which is the most optimal area to sell, it's here. Now, if we do get stopped out of this trade, that's fine as well. That is fine. That was the best setup because here you can say that this is the most optimal zone to sell because those are 2 different sets of sellers. So long as they're divided by that white border, it means that between these two sets of sellers, there was a zone between them where you didn't have sellers or buyers, and that's perfectly fine. But the only time you want to consider, if it's a big zone that's not separated by any white border, like, yes, that's the time you'll go to the highest. But if you have such a big zone of either sellers or either buyers, you want to see, is there any division? Is there any zone between, is there any zone in there where there wasn't any sets of buyers or sellers as well? That's going to be a border, because to distinguish between those two sets. So here, if I zoom out, you'll see that there was this distinction. So if we have that distinction, you always want to see, you always want to relate that to where price is currently, not where price would go in the future. No. Where price is, look for the most distinctive area of sellers or area of buyers. So currently where price is, this is the best area of sellers right here. If you get stopped out of this, that's fine. You took the most optimal one. Then if you were to get stopped out, say if you try to enter this trade and you get stopped out, then you'd move to the next zone of sellers, right? Because again, you're always looking at where you're always basing your entries based off of where price is. And that's the beauty with compared to the SAR strategy. The SAR strategy, it's best to trade in the direction of daily bias. With the supply and demand strategy, you're trading based off of where price is. So you're looking at where price is and asking yourself, is there any, am I closer to suppliers, or am I closer to supply, or am I closer to demand? And then you make your trade setups based off of that. So if where price is, you're closer to buyers, you go and do for your setups for buyers. If where price is, or price is closer to sellers, you go ahead and do your markups based off of sellers. So in here, for that US30 setups, say, fingers crossed, or knock on wood, you got stopped out on this, or I guess you didn't, or whatnot. So let's just assume you get stopped out. Then you'd move to the next area of sellers, which is now this next zone up here. And then you ask yourself, in this new zone, where is the optimal place to sell? Is it here? No, it's not, because we have a zone above here. Okay. Do we have any other zone above this little zone here? Yes, we do, which is this zone up here. And then you just do your markup right there. And then you go ahead and set your trade alert. If price gets to that zone, use your confluences, and that's it. Yeah, but so for right now, based off of where price is, this is the most optimal area to sell. Now, and not every time will price get up there, because you can see here, even based off of where price reacted from, it reacted from this lower. It's still an inner supply zone, but it's lower than this one, so it's not an optimal one. And then at this point, you can see if you have any order blocks around here or any points of interest. Look at this. We have the previous weekly open. We have the current weekly high. And then, but here, we have this previous weekly high. But here, I think one confluence for this was the weekly high. But still, normally I'm not gonna, if I have one zone of sellers or buyers, I'm always going to go for the optimal one. So I don't care of any point of interest that's lower or higher from where I am. I'm just segmenting my sellers and my buyers, and then I'm looking in that zone of sellers and buyers, where are my most optimal areas of entry, and that's pretty much it. It does take a lot sometimes. This inner supply and inner demand zone takes a lot of effort, because you'll set alerts, and then your work is to go there and see, do we still have that inner supply? Do we still have that inner demand? But I'm glad we caught that win on gold, because if you remember, when the live session was starting, we had a 30-minute buy on gold that we missed, but eventually, something else lined up for us. So and that's good enough for me. But that's gonna be it for the day, unless anybody has any questions. I will catch you guys tomorrow. But if you guys have any questions, you can ping me in the Discord, and we can go over any questions. But yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. See you guys. Peace.